Qasr Bashir in the Jordanian desert, which is the best preserved Roman fort anywhere in the world. And the reason it's so well preserved is because there are no kind of towns nearby so that people can take the stones of the fort and use them to rebuild something else. So it's almost intact, which is quite an amazing thing. Accuracy is very important for me. I think one of the parts of the agreement, if you like, the contract between the writer and the reader, is that it's vital that you get your facts right as far as possible. Sometimes, of course, you're going to have to make a compromise because if you're telling a story, and I am a novelist as well as a historian, then it's important if I'm going to tell a good story to make sure the story comes first. So that, frankly, history is just so astonishing quite often that there's absolutely no need to make stuff up. History is already pretty good at telling a story. Yeah, is that the protagonist, Marcus, his main thing that changes his world is based upon a nightmare version of my childhood, because we were living in Hong Kong. When we were living in Hong Kong, my father used to take my mother out for parties, and my father's a dreadful driver, he really is. And I'm afraid what I would do is I'd go out and spend all my pocket money on buying tins of food to hide under my bed in case there came the day when my father didn't return home with my mother. And I thought, well, if that's the same for me and it's the same for them, why the hell shouldn't it be the same for a little Roman boy? And what would life be like for a Roman boy if, after living this idyllic childhood, suddenly he loses everything? His father, his mother, his home, and he's forced to go into a gladiator school, the harshest possible environment any young child could possibly be. How would he cope? And that's the idea, where the idea for the story really came. Well, I was born in Africa, in Nigeria, and I lived there until I was about 6 years old, and then we were evacuated from there during the Biafran War. After that, my parents moved to Hong Kong, and we were raised there in a school. And when we came back to England again for a bit, and then off to the Bahamas, brief spell in the United States, then finally we settled in England for good. Yes, I have witnessed a few violent episodes there, and we were living there at the time of the Biafran War. So we were living on the side which was losing around Port Harcourt, and for a number of weeks we were bombed by the Federal Air Force. And then finally, when the Federal Army was about to take Port Harcourt, we were evacuated pretty much at the last moment. And it was a pretty traumatic time. Loads of people I'd known as a boy that were killed in the war. And there were loads of people like my family who, we lost everything, our house, our property. My father basically just came into my bedroom one night and said, pack your bags, we're leaving. Leaving this house, leaving Nigeria in 2 minutes' time. And so I had to leave everything I ever owned. So did my family. Roman times, yeah, they were really violent. The Romans thrived on violence. You only have to look at the phenomenon of the gladiator games. There is something that is absolute proof that the Romans' greatest pleasure was seeing other people hack each other to death.